Hello everyone, how are you doing? So in case you didn't notice, I didn't post a video last week, and that was for very crucial reasons. I was at the Fringe. Look at that, I was at the Fringe. It was my first year at the Fringe because a lot of my friends were performing up there, and I felt like I'd be offending everyone I know if I didn't go up to the Fringe to watch everyone. I also saw a lot of shows beforehand, and I thought I'd use this time to explain what happened that weekend when I didn't post a video. If you are thinking of going to the Fringe, it is pricey. You are definitely going to be moderately out of pocket after you go, but I definitely think it's worth it because the Edinburgh Fringe is a place where they celebrate such amazing and brilliant original work. So yeah, let's start the video. So I'm just going to shuffle all these tickets. Shuffle! Shuffle! Stop the Train! Oh my god, the one I have the most opinions about. Stop the Train is about, it's a bit obvious. It's set in a train, and basically this dude has a bomb on him, and he's basically holding everyone in the carriage on hostage and is saying, if we don't have a proper conversation and if you don't put away your phones, I'm gonna blow up this whole train. Interesting thing, no one noticed the carriage behind them, didn't notice. There weren't any police people like trying to take control of the situation. The train carried on as normal. Oh, it was the worst written thing I have seen in my entire life. The setup was weak, the relationships were forced, the lyrics were absolutely mind-numbingly boring. There were no stakes. The actors didn't really understand that that if they said the wrong thing, the train was going to blow up. And I just didn't feel the tension at all. And also, another thing that really bugged me, right? In my opinion, the best moment in the entire show is one of the men who I think is in his 40s. He's plus sized, he's bald, not really conventionally attractive, but his big number is that he's actually secretly a Vegas dancer, and that's absolutely cool. I'm totes fine with that. You go, boo. In fact, that was my favourite part in the entire show. But there were people after it that were saying, don't you think that was inappropriate? There were 4 ensemble girls, right? Every single number. These girls were like in midriffs, in shorts, and at one point they were just in leotards and like tied up blouses. If you think the Vegas number is inappropriate, then surely you think the rest of the bloody dancing is inappropriate. You need to sort your mind out, because that made me incredibly angry what you just said. Oh, I could rant. Oh, the awful projection. No, I'm gonna stop talking because I could rant about this for a whole video. But I think it's really poorly written. It was very poorly executed, and also I think majority of the backing numbers were pre-recorded. I'm gonna shut up. Fossils. This was really amazing. It was about this doctor, this doctor called Vanessa, and her dad basically left her when she was 16, and her mother never really got over it. She never really got over it, and now she's like this really successful scientist, and there's this thing about could the Loch Ness Monster could be real. So she travels up to Scotland with one of her science students, PhD buddies, and tries to see if the Loch Ness Monster is real. I don't really want to spoil the rest of it, because I really do recommend this. They make their own music on stage. There's like this little warpy machine thing. It's very small, it's not really big budget, but I think they created such vivid scenes. I could picture the Scottish Highlands. I could so imagine it being like an indie film, and there are like some beautiful Scottish landscapes. Landscape shots. I would love to just approach them and be like, can I please produce it or direct it? Actually no, I don't even want to direct it because I don't want to muck it up. Oh, it's too good. What's the next one? That's credit card details. Oops. A Matter of Life and Death. Okay, so people I know from uni were in this, and I thought I should probably go and see it. I thought it was interesting because they changed the script from when I first saw it. I didn't see the original production at Arkle Studios, but they apparently changed sort of the setup, because originally it was like the main character slept with someone and he finds out he's gonna die, and he's like, oh, I'll drink with this girl, YOLO. But now when I watched it, she was his long-term girlfriend. I actually asked Jared, he's the leading character, I asked Jared why they changed it, and he said it was because there was a lot more sentimental value about their relationship, and if it was just someone he slept with, people wouldn't really care that much that he went drinking with someone. I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I feel like because he doesn't have a lot of life left, he only has about 4 months, I think. The fact that he is making the effort to go and have a drink with this person he slept with, it is maybe taking a leap of faith with this person. I think it has a lot more sort of emotional attachment to it, and I think people would really admire him. I think in general it's a very good script. I thought the chemistry was very good. However, I feel like because it was just a black box studio, it was just them two talking, it was very hard to stay focused throughout the whole thing. Which, to be honest, duologues are always very difficult to do. And I feel like if there was maybe more of a set that I could maybe just pay attention to details. Maybe it's just my autistic brain and I find it difficult to sort of concentrate on one thing at a time. But it was a very interesting watch. It's ended its run now, but I quite enjoyed it. Romeo and Juliet! Right, I talked about this in my last video. And there's this whole story. Richard Madden broke his leg, and then his understudy broke his leg like the next week. So they brought in Freddie Fox. They had like an intense like 3 days of trying to catch Freddie Fox up to do it, and to be honest, I'd much rather prefer seeing Freddie Fox, because I feel like Freddie Fox is quite experienced with Shakespearean acting. I'm not saying Richard Madden isn't, but I just haven't really known Richard Madden to do a lot of Shakespearean stuff, and I feel like if I did see Richard Madden, it would have been a very much like a reprise of Lily James and Richard Madden in Cinderella, and it works for a Disney film, that relationship dynamic they had, but I don't think it would really work for a Shakespeare when sort of the story is already a little bit cliche, and I feel like if they had more of that dynamic, it would have been a bit like, ooh, please stop. But in general, I thought majority of the performances were really excellent. I thought it was a very creative setting. I think they really sort of, they chose a time frame. I think it was the 1950s, 60s in Italy, and I think they really made it work, and they didn't just plop it into the 1960s like, yay, we've made it modern, yeah. Our writer. So I have a really good friend, Sam, and he wrote it, and I think he directed it as well. And it's basically about these two characters in a play, and the writer is suffering from writer's block, and it's basically these two characters interacting with each other when the writer isn't there, and they're worried that he's never going to finish the play, or she, never specified. And I found this very interesting concept. I quite enjoyed seeing that sort of dynamic. It's something that I haven't really seen before, which I think should be explored a bit more. I did feel like some plot points were a bit rushed, and maybe some points were a bit too slow, but I thought the character dynamics were very interesting, and I thought the side characters that made like little cameos, I thought that was really lovely. And it was a very lovely small production, so I enjoyed that. The next one, Shakespeare for Breakfast. This was amazing. This was its 25th year doing it at the Edinburgh Fringe, and it was basically condensing A Midsummer Night's Dream within 55 minutes. It was all like set in modern day, and we had like free tea/coffee and croissants, and it was so funny. They used a lot of pop culture references, and normally I find that a little bit cringe when they try and put Shakespeare in modern day context. But I think they did it really well, because they really hammed it up, and they were like, oh, we're putting pop culture references in modern day Shakespeare. How lame is that? I think majority of the time when people set Shakespeare in modern day, it's very much like, oh, guns, knives, oh, look, we're modern day, we're so edgy. But I feel like with this production, they really made it work, and they managed to condense Shakespeare in 55 minutes, and that's bloody nightmare. Thank you, Samantha and Mark, for taking me to see this, because I really enjoyed it. Next one, Unreachable. You can see I got my ticket signed by Matt Smith. Ah! This was Anthony Neilson. I have seen Anthony Neilson before, but at university, so I've never seen an actual professional production of Anthony Neilson. In my honest opinion, I think Matt Smith was kind of the weaker actors out of all of them, which isn't a shame, but it definitely he didn't meet my expectations of what I thought he was going to be like. I feel like the I can't remember the actress's name. Basically there's a black girl and I think she plays a character called Sophie, and she's just really, she has such dry humour, she's so witty, and she made me laugh every time, and the audience basically lost it every time she said a sentence. And I saw it on there last night, so I feel like they went for it a little bit more. This was a very funny production, and I always love like behind the scenes of theatre and film concepts, so this was really fantastic. I felt the ending was a little bit rushed, but to be honest I enjoyed the rest of the production. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Next one is Alan and Bennett. I know someone in the main cast. It's another duologue. It's basically a younger Alan Bennett and an older Alan Bennett, and they're basically, I think they're in this sort of alternate universe where they're talking to each other about like their life. And to be honest, I think it had better runs, and I found the script a little bit boring at points, because I've not seen a lot of Alan Bennett stuff. I've seen Lady in the Van at university, and that's sort of my only really experience with Alan Bennett, so I feel like if someone's a die-hard fan of Alan Bennett, they maybe enjoy it and enjoy the references a little bit more. But I felt like the dynamics were, I thought the performances were really good. I just feel like the writing sort of let them down a little bit, and I felt like they could have had more to work from. They've finished their run now, but it was interesting. But yeah, I felt like they could have done more with that dynamic. Black comedy. So I went to see this with Sam, and we both waited because it was sold out that night, and luckily 2 people managed to not show up, so we managed to grab the last 2 tickets. As you can probably tell from the lighting, my battery died, so I had to wait for a bit for it to recharge. I do have other batteries, I just can't find them. Also, can't really be bothered with this bun anymore. Let's just let it loose. Right, oh god no, I look like Miss Hooley from Balamory. Oh no! So, black comedy, yeah, I saw that with my mate Sam, and he said he enjoyed it, he found it very funny. It was a bit meh for me. Normally when I see comedies, as you lot know, I have very high, hello Bertie, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable, little fluffer? Normally when I see comedies I have quite high expectations because I'm expecting to belly laugh, so it's a lot harder for me to laugh at things. It's written by Peter Shaffer, so it is a good script. I think it is a very good script. I thought there were 2 actresses, I thought that the performances were appalling. But I felt the rest of the performances were very good. I didn't really like the plot that much, but that's just my personal taste. It's nothing to do with how good the production is. I think in general it was a bit meh. What's the next one? Nightmare. So this is basically the reason why I came up to the Edinburgh Fringe, because beforehand all my university friends were going and I was like, lol, too broke, can't go. And then my closest friends from Pericles were all part of this play called Nightmare, which was written by Sophie Paterson, who was the director for Pericles, which I was in. And I was there at the read-through actually, I remember, because that day, the read-through for this play, that was when I broke up with my first boyfriend. I can't believe how I managed to have the emotional strength to cry for about 4 hours, get ready, and then do a bloody read-through as traumatic as this. I think this is a really great script. It's so surreal and so vivid, and the way they staged it, it was like 5 people using different coloured torches, and they were like using it to sort of create different moods and different styles, and different like positions and stuff. And the way it was staged, everything was so vivid and I could picture basically everything. And I think it helped a little bit because I was at the first read through and I already had an idea of how some bits were going to go. But I did notice a few things were changed, but I thought it was really incredible. I don't know if by the time I post this video the run is still going, but if you can, I really recommend it and I really enjoyed it. It's not for the faint-hearted, I should say. It's very, there are no limits, I should say, when it comes to this script. For Elise, this was one of my university people coming up to the Fringe. For Elise is a mime show and it's about this guy named Francois? I think it's Francois, and it's all in French when they do talk, but they do it like a silent film, and they get like placards out and the actors like acted out what they were saying, and I thought it was very enjoyable. There is a fly in here and I cannot emotionally deal with it. I thought they did it very well. I thought the staging was very creative. I knew majority of the actors very well, so I already knew they were quite good actors, but I thought the way it was executed, and I really did feel for these characters, and I thought it was a very interesting, because normally I don't really like silent stuff. I'm not really a massive fan of mime. I'm not really a massive fan of physical theatre in general, when it's not done very well, but I think they executed the physical theatre very well, and they did the mime style really brilliantly, and they really created a sort of film noir vibe, which I really liked. The run is finished now, but I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what my university will do next at the Fringe. And the last one, I'm assuming it's save the best till last, Assassins. This was incredible. This is the first professional company I've seen a Sondheim show in. I have seen Into the Woods, but even then I didn't really see the endings. I had to rush out, which is probably the worst memory I have in my theatrical experience. It's already great enough as it is, because it's Sondheim, but the performances were so great, the vocals were on point, and it was an interesting thing. They changed, I don't know the name of the character, but it's the person who hands the guns at the beginning to the assassinators. And usually it's portrayed by a man, but in this production it was played by a woman, and I found it interesting because I didn't realise that until I got the cast recording when I came back and I started listening to it, and I was like, hang on, this is played by a man. And when thinking about that, I really appreciated the fact that the actress playing the role didn't portray it like I am a woman playing a man's part, because a lot of the time when I see reverse gender characters, they sort of, especially with women, they always sort of take a huge pride when they're doing man roles. They feel like they have to prove themselves, and I'm just like, if you're a good enough actress, you already can do the part. You don't feel like you have to prove yourself to an audience that just because it used to be played by a man, that you have to prove yourself that you are good. But I don't know her name, and I'm really annoyed, but she was very good. Everyone's performances was on point, and I was very angry at one point because during one of the I don't know the assassinator's name, but it's the guy who's like Santa Claus, and basically halfway through his monologue, two of the people who are like part of the Fringe had to leave. And this was about 2/3 into the performance, and the Santa, he had some sass. And he basically gave them the evils as they walked out. And I was like, you're not supposed to do that, but I'm really appreciating your sass levels right now. And the staging was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was very clever, it was very funny. And I think the run is still going. So if you can, please go and see this because it really is incredible. And I learned actually, I learned a lot about the Assassinators of America. I knew the name John Wilkes Booth, but I never actually knew that he assassinated Abraham Lincoln. This was amazing. Please see it, because I really enjoyed it. And that's all the shows I saw. I am seeing Exposure by the time I film this. It's this Saturday. If you want me to post my thoughts about Exposure, I probably will talk about it in another video. I won't have a whole massive review about it. But if you want me to go more into detail about some of the shows I've talked about, please let me know, because I would like to. But I know some people might not be as fussed if they're not like going to the Fringe or not a massive fan of the Fringe. But yeah, I think in general I had a very good experience with the Fringe. The thing is, people who will hear my opinions, they probably will think I'm a little bit of a snob. And I have been called a snob before, and to be honest, I don't really mind, because I feel like, as people say, we're only on this earth for a very short amount of time, so we need to stop settling for bad things. When people say, oh, let go and just watch the show and just enjoy it, you know, if it's an enjoyable, even if it's not technically great. And I'm just like, well, yeah, but at the same time, don't you want good things? Why, as human beings, do we settle for stuff when we're on this earth for such a short space of time? Why are we settling for things when we know things could be better? Oh, can this fly thank you. But I think that's enough I have for you today, so thank you very much for watching. Please leave this video a like because it makes me feel loved, and comment below your thoughts if you have been to the Fringe or if you're thinking of going. Just something Fringe or theatre related. And I shall see you in next week's video. Yay! Bye! Oh! That was a very close save.